Janet Maslin of the New York Times says the first film in this series is best watched in the playful, none too serious spirit in which it was made. Hal Hinson criticizes the cast, noting that they behave as if our adoration were their birthright. And about its sequel, Variety magazine says it exhausts its most inspired moment during the opening credits and fades into a copy of its 1988 predecessor, a slick, glossy MTV-style Western. On this episode of Ruined Childhoods, we decide the fate of Young Guns.
Sequel. Reboot. Which one will it be? It's the Ruined Childhoods podcast.
Greetings, regulators.
Oh, yeah, we're the regulators. Look out.
Yes.
Bam, 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 bam.
Still starfighters, but today, regulators. And we're damn good.
Oh, my goodness. This is Ruined Childhoods, and
Yes.
we are talking about Young Guns today.
Yes. Welcome, and thank you for joining us for this in-depth discussion and exploration of the legacy of the Young Guns and whither and how that's not even a word, this anything could ever be done to add to the already spotless legacy of Young Guns.
I wouldn't say spotless, I would say specific. Young Guns,
Yes.
Before anybody thinks about like what it's even about or who any of the characters are, it's all about the actors. Because this some of, it was like a kind of a mix of like Brat Pack and just like miscellaneous, like hot young stars of the day.
Yeah, it was one of those, and it feels like they're specific to the 80s. They're not, but
right,
like The Outsiders, which was, I think, one of the first of those, like, teen, like Tiger Beat pinup, hot guy ensemble movies. We have The Outsiders, and that's Emilio Estevez is like, that's his real, like, it's not his debut,
but a breakout moment.
That's his breakout. I mean, Tom Cruise, also Ralph Macchio, C. Thomas Howell.
Right.
But outside of Patrick Swayze was one of the bigger actors in The Outsiders. And it was Rob Lowe. Rob Lowe in The Outsiders. Mm-hmm. Rob Lowe's in The Outsiders. So I think like The Outsiders.
Pop? Which one is he? No, he wasn't Soda Pop.
I think C. Thomas Howell was Soda Pop, if I remember. Oh, C. Thomas Howell was Pony Boy.
Pony Boy, yeah.
Matt Dillon was Dallas or Dally.
Right.
Ralph Macchio played Johnny. Patrick Swayze is Daryl. Rob Lowe was Soda Pop. Yep.
Hey, I was right. Soda Pop.
Yeah. And then Emilio Estevez as Two-Bit Matthews. So like you had a movie like The Outsiders, and then that's followed up by other movies like Red Dawn, which has that. It was Charlie Sheen was in that one, I think, and Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Grey pre Dirty Dancing.
Right.
But yeah, generally speaking, you had a lot of these, like, let's just put a bunch of these, whether it was Brat Packers or otherwise, but like, because Kiefer Sutherland wasn't really this was also the like spawn of famous like counterculture actors, because you've got Kiefer Sutherland and you've got Emilio Estevez and Martin Sheen or Charlie Sheen.
Yeah, and then you have one of the newer stars, Lou Diamond Phillips, who had done, La Bamba the year before, and Stand and Deliver was before this, right?
I think Stand and Deliver was the same year.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. So, he's just like this kind of hot up and coming young star.
And Lou Diamond Phillips was, and he was like, it was just the right guy for this movie, for this role.
Yeah, I tried to poke holes in his casting, and The thing is, he's of Filipino descent, and he is known for playing, specifically mostly Mexican characters, although this character is, I guess, half Mexican, half Native American, and Lou Diamond Phillips does have Native American ancestry.
Yeah.
So that's not completely out of left field. It's more the Mexican half that would fall under that category. Although he does kind of go there, but I wouldn't blame him for that. I would mostly blame the direction for, the and the writing for the, Native American lore that follows him. It's a really interesting cast because in addition to the young guns themselves, you have people like Terrence Stamp, you've got Jack Palance, you have Terry O'Quinn. You've got a lot of those kind of like older actors, like even though Terry O'Quinn at the time wasn't that much older, but he was older.
Right. And then Young Guns too, you've got James Coburn.
Yep.
Stepping in, and I'm trying to remember who else was it. It's funny because Young Guns 2 also features an early Viggo Mortensen.
That's right. Bradley Whitford is there.
Right. Yeah.
Richard Schiff is in there.
Little West Wing pre-union.
I know. Yeah.
Richard Schiff plays like Rat Boy or something like that. Like
it's
that's
Rat
Bag. Yes.
Yeah. And then you've got some of the other young guns, Christian Slater and Alan Ruck, who's been certainly having a ruckassance with Succession.
Quite. I thought you were going to say a ruckus, but
a ruckus. Yes. Well, I wouldn't even call it necessarily a ruckassance because aside from Succession, I don't know if he's in much else, but he's really standing out. And I feel like there was a long time where Alan Ruck was just known as Cameron from Ferris Bueller, and then he's really kind of crossed over the line now where he is Connor Roy.
Well, he was in, and I know this is going back, 5 years, but he was on the first season of The Exorcist adaptation on Fox. And
he's in everything.
He's always, Speed. It's like, it feels like he's just...
He's always been there, but this role on Succession has really just boosted him into a different dimension.
Right. So you've got Alan Ruck, Balthazar Getty, who at this time had also just starred in the 1990 adaptation of Lord of the Flies. So he was like, that was his kind of moment where I think he was supposed to be Leonardo DiCaprio, and then Leonardo DiCaprio happened.
He's kind of got that look.
Yeah, it was kind of like they're trying a weird
that name.
Out. Yeah, you're right. Balthazar. Well, I think he's an ancestor of the Getty.
The Gettys.
The Gettys. So he's of that lineage. But Christian Slater, who was breaking out in that he had already been, Legend of Billie Jean is 5 years before this, and The Wizard. Of course.
Right. Yeah.
So
of course.
Yeah, but before Young Guns too. So so
should
John,
we synopsize?
Do you want to, if you want to synopsize, I can also share with you. I don't have an exact kind of situation or circumstance for when I first saw the original Young Guns, but I could tell you I saw Young Guns 2 at the Rialto Theater in the upstairs section.
Got it.
And I'm almost positive I still have the ticket stub from when I saw Young Guns.
Oh my God. Of course.
Yes.
All right. So when I did these synopses, and I'll talk afterwards about my initial viewing of these, because I know that I have seen them before, but I don't really remember them, because I don't think that I'd seen them since they were on TV or Blockbuster night situation. I really don't remember. I know that I had seen them, but I didn't know how, and I didn't remember them.
Might not have been TV, might have been HBO.
It might have been HBO. That's right. So, here we go. Young Guns, 1988. Here we go. John Tunstall is an enterprising cattle rancher and market owner. who takes in troubled young men to work on his farm in exchange for room, board, and lessons in refinement to turn them into upstanding gentlemen. Shortly after Jon brings in a boy named William, he is murdered by a gang controlled by his business rival, Lawrence Murphy, who has the entire town government in his pocket. Jon's boys are all deputized in an effort to properly arrest Murphy and his goons. Jon's boys consist of Doc Scurlock, a poet, Jose Chavez y Chavez, a knife-throwing Mexican/Native American, and 3 ruffians named Dick, Charlie, and Dirty Steve. And now, William, aka Billy, is part of the crew. Billy positions himself as the leader of the gang by taking matters into his own hands by murdering the suspects rather than arresting them. This creates tension and many unnecessary deaths. Once the authorities catch on to this, they are all de-deputized, but they continue to stalk and kill their prey. They discover this by reading the newspaper, which will also dub Billy as Billy the Kid, a moniker to which he takes a liking. After a long and drawn-out shootout that results in many deaths, Billy, Doc, and Chavez manage to escape and go their separate ways. That's what I've got for that one.
They take Palance down with a. He takes Palance down with a shot to the head. Yeah. Yeah.
There's of course a lot more. There's this whole subplot where Doc, who's played by Kiefer Sutherland, is involved with this woman who's kind of she's a sex slave for Murphy, and it's complicated.
She's the daughter of what, like a lawn. They own, like, it was a laundry service.
Oh, is that what it was? I don't remember.
It was the daughter of, they were Chinese immigrants, and the daughter of this laundry service that like owed him money or something like that, and he just he took their daughter, and she was I think she described herself as his quote unquote ward, but she's basically,
we all know.
Yeah,
we all know.
We know. Yeah. There's a lot of and there's insinuations about Tunstall.
I don't remember that.
There is a moment, and it's of course didn't really occur to me when I saw it back in the day. But you're watching it and even hearing the discussion. He takes in young men and teaches them refining, and I think it's actually Jack Palance as Murphy who he makes a comment or something, or like there's definitely some like nudge wink wink about like, yes, we see you have a proclivity. I know. Oh, okay. Yes, you know what word I'm trying to think of, but it's late. And but for young men, and
right. Well, so and this whole story of Jon Tunstall and the Young Guns, this crew, it's a true story, and I've heard that this is the most faithful retelling of it that is on screen or documented in any way. I know that there are certain things that are slightly different. I believe Jon Tunstall was almost the same age as the guys. Yeah, just a little bit older, but not as old as Terrence Stamp.
Oh, he might not even been as old as them. I think he was. Yeah, or he wasn't.
Oh, really? So he was even younger than some of them.
He wasn't. Yeah, he wasn't much older, and I don't think it was. I don't think Tunstall had as much of a mentor / like adopted father figure type thing.
But that works for the movie. Like, I think that was one of the more effective parts of the movie.
No, it works well because otherwise you're not going to sympathize with Billy the Kid, who's gonna, like, unless there's an emotional connection, and he feels and what he did. I'm reading off legendsofamerica.com about the Lincoln County War, so you gotta cite your sources, man. So so in 1877 he was 24. Tunstall was 24. Yeah. So then he gets shot in 1878. And he had only hired Billy the Kid as a quote unquote cattle guard, basically because he wouldn't do like this other guy, Dolan, kept trying to like get Tunstall to like duel him. And Tunstall was like, I'm not a violent person, but I'll hire violent people.
Oh.
But Billy the Kid, it said, it says that he claimed that Tunstall was one of the only men that treated him like he was freeborn, and like that he was like Tunstall was like one of the only people who like treated him with respect.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's really fascinating. I think that it's a really interesting dynamic that they show in the movie. You have something else to say?
Not right now.
Oh, okay. So while we're on that subject, I just want to play a little clip of the scene where they're all in Tunstall's boarding house, the farmhouse, and he's making them practice reading. And this is also when we find out that Billy kind of has a background of education, even though when we first meet him, he is just a scrappy street dweller.
There are plenty of men who will never succeed. Who will never succeed anywhere.
We got a whole room full of them right here.
Well done. William.
Yeah, sure.
Well, excuse me, Billy. Very sorry to offend you. But we congregated here to learn to read and write. You need more than skill with a firearm to succeed in the new world, Billy. So take up the journal and start where the other boy left off. Or you can go straight back to your home on the streets.
Young men who don't know how to do any kind of business and have no energy or application had better stay at home near their relatives so they can be taken care of. They are not wanted here and will only come to grief, but men of enterprise are practically sure of success.
Splendid.
A splendid reading, William. Thank you.
Yeah, so I don't know. I really appreciate the way that I mean, Terrence Stamp does a great job. I feel like it's so unfortunate that he gets killed off so quickly because he's great. The dynamic between him and Jack Palance is really fascinating. And, they're business rivals. You know what? And I'm just going to play this part of kind of this one showdown that they have. And this one also highlights, Dan, something that you had requested that I pull, which is something about, Jack Palance's Irish accent in this as Lawrence Murphy.
It's magnificent.
Do you see our good sheriff sitting up there on that horse? Do you know how much money he's got invested in my store? His life savings, John. And it's not just Brady who wants me to be getting those contracts. It's the territorial district attorney, the chief justice, the U.S. district attorney, the Santa Fe ring. This is a family thing, John. And you don't come prancing in here with your fat foreign capital trying to change things.
I made a very long steamship journey.
Yeah, so I don't know. I just love the way that Jack Palance just like puts everything he has into it. This is something that we've seen in a lot of movies that we've covered. The City Slickers movies, he really puts it all in there, and he reaped the benefits of it for the first City Slickers. And then also in Tango and Cash,
right?
He like really puts everything into it.
So much.
And we didn't cover it on this one, but also in the '89 Batman. Yeah, he like really he acts. He's just like, I am going to act.
Now suppose this son of a bitch. Yeah, this was definitely
fantastic.
This was definitely this great period of the Palanisance.
Yeah, right.
Where it was just, damn it, we need an older guy to play like just a super evil, like slimy villain. Jack Palance.
Yeah, he was the guy.
Get me Palance.
Yeah, and you know what? He did his best attempt at the Irish accent, and there it was.
He throws a little bit in. He's like, I'll do a little bit of an accent, but I won't do much. That's not a
Jack Palance.
No, that was not a good impression. I'm sorry. Whoa, shit. I won't do that again. I'm sorry.
So when I watched this movie this past week, I've got to say, it's bad. I don't know, Dan. I know that you like this movie a lot and have a fondness for it. It is not good.
I have a fondness for it. To say I like it a lot would be an overstatement. I like it. There was a lot about it this time that I found a bit trite. And the score is.
Yeah, let's listen to some of that.
Yeah. May I pontificate a bit on the Young Guns score?
Sure.
So every time I hear the score from Young Guns, I think to myself, this doesn't sound like the score from some like big studio summer blockbuster. This sounds like the score from Iron Eagle or something like that. And then I remember that like Iron Eagle had like original songs by Queen and here we go.
Yeah.
Oh, is this the beginning where you see all the?
This is the beginning.
Those cool close-ups of the actors.
So right now what you're seeing is each actor mugging for the camera, kind of like tipping their hat and kind of like winking and, just being like, I'm a cool 20-something actor. And then, it's like going one by one and it's all like blown out. It's black and white and it's like very stylized. Yeah, it's really strange. And then pretty soon they're all just going to start like picking up their guns and blasting away.
But like I hear this music and all I can think of is like, I don't know, like planes landing and taking off on aircraft carriers. Like it's...
Yeah, the music is wildly distracting. Oh, here come the guns. The Young Guns.
Oh, and then we pick up the beat.
Yeah, the music is way off. It is very distracting. And I feel like this movie does suffer from a bit of an identity crisis because at the beginning and with the score, you definitely have this like 80s stuff to it. But I feel like the wardrobe still is very stuck in the, in the era, in the period. And I feel like they should have either leaned in and made it more 80s-y and really just kind of gone for like this is not a serious retelling of this story and really just gone for it or play it straight.
Yeah, I agree. And honestly, I don't know that the inclination to go, like when you say to go like full out 80s Billy the Kid, do you mean kind of like almost and I mean, this is I don't have a better comparison at the moment, but like Marie Antoinette, where it was definitely set.
Yeah.
But yeah, there or Amadeus, we talked about this with the Amadeus episode.
Yeah.
But kind of making those very intentional choices, is that's kind of what you're thinking? Not
I think
like,
so. Yeah.
Not like an 80s set retelling of Billy Kid, kind of like Legend of Billie Jean was an 80s set, kind of Joan of Arc, kind of inspired by Joan of Arc.
Yeah.
So, because that's what I'm thinking is like, we need like that song from Legend of Billie Jean, I will be invincible. Like that's what, as they're like, as Billy the Kid's like riding off at the end.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like Young Guns 2, the things about Young Guns 2 that are most memorable, aside from like Christian Slater, is also like the Bon Jovi song Blaze of Glory that plays over the end credits. And it's like, I don't know. It almost seems like these movies, they want to be very like current to the time. Granted, Young Guns 2 was 90, I believe.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be 80s, but it's
still Young Guns 2 commits more because yes, there's the Blaze of Glory, but Blaze of Glory doesn't come in until the ending credits.
Well, the score in Young Guns 2 definitely felt more appropriate. Was it like Alan Silvestri or something like that? Yeah. It felt way better. And in a lot of ways, I liked Young Guns 2 better.
Oh, hands down. Young Guns 2 is a great example of a sequel that outdoes the original.
You know, and it's like, of course, it needs the original to build off the story because...
Does it, though?
You're looking at me like, does it? It's built around the idea of, I don't know.
Well, okay. So before you jump into the synopsis for Young Guns 2,
that's what I'm saying. Like,
well, no,
how do I get into it without getting into it?
Well, no, you're going to go into the synopsis, but I think that you could accomplish with like some flashbacks or a prologue, even just like a scroll of text at the beginning. You could accomplish that. This was one of the things I thought about while watching the movie was, could you have released Young Guns 2 with, and of course not calling it Young Guns 2, call it Blaze of Glory.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Could you, which was its like unofficial subtitle.
Was it really?
But, could you have released that movie without having released the original Young Guns and have this movie make sense as kind of okay, well, this is kind of the myth and the legend of Billy the Kid, but what if he wasn't shot by Pat Garrett? Cue synopsis.
Yeah, no, this is, as we talked about with Amadeus, historical fan fiction.
Young Guns 2?
Yeah.
Well, no, it's based on truth. It's based on the truth.
But what I'm saying, but what I'm saying is the fact that it starts off with an elderly Billy the Kid.
Oh, right. Yeah. The
framework
unreliable
of it is,
narrator.
Yeah. The framework of it is the fan fiction-y part.
Yes.
So, all right, here we go. Young Guns 2, 1990. An elderly Billy the Kid, who it turns out is still alive, recounts the story where the first movie left off. Billy, Doc, and Chavez are brought back to Lincoln City to be tried for their crimes, but manage to escape, joining forces with Arkansas Dave and Pat Garrett. They later are joined by Hendry French and a young man named Tom O'Folliard. After Pat Garrett splits from the group, he is approached with an offer to kill Billy, so he forms a gang of his own to find Billy's gang. After many tragic deaths, Pat has Billy in his crosshairs, but lets Billy get away and instead has a fake funeral for him. So, obviously, that is a very abbreviated version of everything. Did I get something wrong?
Oh, no, but I wanted to share a bit. I didn't know if you were going to go into cast because we kind of already talked about it, but.
Oh, well, yeah, add what you want to add.
So actually sharing a bit about the end. So from IMDb trivia, found an unlikely connection between two of our between this and a recent episode of ours, because as IMDb trivia, the go-to source for insightful information, tells us, the last thing heard before the screen fades to black at the end is Billy the Kid's unique laugh. In Amadeus, the last thing heard before the screen fades to black is Mozart's unique laugh.
Weird.
Sorry, file that under IMDb coincidences.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And ruined childhood coincidences. We did not expect that to have any parallels, but here we are.
No, there I was scrolling through and I was like, how is it that the trivia for Young Guns 2 is mentioning Amadeus? That's amazing.
That's super weird. But I just want to play a quick clip from the beginning that I have called Billy the Old, because this is Emilio Estevez's like old man Billy the Kid voice.
I'm dying. And I don't want to go before the governor. I want to be pardoned.
Pardoned? For what?
That's Bradley Whitford.
For the killing of 21 men. I was promised a pardon 70 years and 3 months ago. And you tell him that you're bringing in Rushy Bill Roberts, alias William Antrim, also known as William H. Bonney.
Whoa. William H. Bonney?
Alias Billy the Kid.
Billy the Kid, huh? Billy the Kid was shot and killed by Pat Garrett. Everybody knows that. It's common knowledge.
There are other lawyers around you, piece of chicken shit. Get back in your vehicle and drive before I make it 22, just for the goddamn hell of it.
That's the voice of two children in a trench coat trying to get into an R-rated movie. That is not the voice of an actual old man. The makeup they did on him was good.
Yes.
I thought that was very good, but the voice, they should have overdubbed him with somebody. It was bad.
I heard he had to fight. I heard he had to fight to do that. That like the studio was not convinced that he could handle the old.
The studio was right.
Well, so what he did was like he hired a makeup artist to have, and like he went out and was like spent the day out as an old man, and then was like, no one knew.
Baloney. That's absolutely not. Oh my God. That voice, as soon as it started and I heard that voice, I started laughing so hard. It's bad. It's really bad.
But it's great.
But, you know, it makes for a very interesting way to tell the story.
Yeah.
And
he's no F. Murray Abraham.
No. F. Murray Abraham.
Yeah.
You have really spoiled us, F. Murray.
Yeah. You and your acting.
Yeah. So Young Guns 2, I thought that the things that were really interesting about, I mean, Christian Slater, of course, just like completely, you know, does as much stealing the show as possible.
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, in the first one, Charlie Sheen has just kind of, I feel like he dies pretty early on. And
that was a shocker at the time.
Yeah, he doesn't have like a huge role. Yeah, so
but he was a big star, so it was surprising
Yeah.
that he was killed off so quickly.
I wonder if that was Emilio's influence to be like, this is mine. This one's all mine.
They went before Martin and he chose.
Well,
I guess, Emilio was Billy the Kid, and it is historically accurate.
Right.
So,
it is his story.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, I don't know. I feel like, Doc's, the introduction for Doc in Young Guns 2 was really great. You know, he's teaching in New York, and
I love it.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty cool. I don't really remember how they reintroduced Chavez.
He's in the pit.
He's just there.
He's in the
just
pit.
already there.
They throw Kiefer into the pit, and
Kiefer.
Kiefer. So and Lou Diamond Phillips and John Bon Jovi were already in there.
Yeah.
Along with screenwriter John Fusco.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, who's also in that scene. But yeah, Bon Jovi, and that was, I remember like that, it wasn't a secret that Bon Jovi had a cameo.
It was a big deal.
Oh yeah, like you were
a marketing ploy.
Well, yeah, I mean they gave him a little slow-mo when he gets shot. So you'd have that moment where you saw his face. Oh, it's Bon Jovi.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think and I felt like Alan Ruck was a good addition. I mean, in the first one, I don't think that we even mentioned this one, but Dermot Mulroney was one of the regulators.
Yeah, Dermot Mulroney, and
he was Dirty Steve.
Yeah, Casey Siemaszko,
right.
Casey Siemaszko's dialogue has been immortalized at the beginning of Warren G and Nate Dogg's Regulate.
That's right.
Yeah.
I was thinking of using that one for the song at the end, but I was like, I don't want to have to bleep stuff.
I was wondering, and there were quite a few things that I thought about, and I just thought, I was like, you know what, John always makes the right choice. So I didn't throw out any of my suggestions there.
I considered it though. But I mean, Casey Shmosko was, I don't know, I didn't love his performance. It was a little dry, maybe a little, I don't know, too acty. I don't know. There's something about it.
I guess he has the couple of scenes towards the end where he gets married and and then it's kind of it's an emotional moment, I think, when he meets his end. In the first one, and it's one of those moments where one of the things I like about this movie is that even though it wants its audience, or both of these movies, they want their audience to sympathize with Billy the Kid, but in moments like when Casey Shmosko's character is killed, you kind of have you hate Billy the Kid for getting him, wrapped up and for making everyone feel like Billy the Kid he's that kid who gets away with everything, and that other kids see and they're like, oh, he gets away with that, let me try it, and then they don't get away with it.
Right.
He's just that kid who magically just makes it happen. I mean, even up to the supposed fake death, Pat Garrett not really and that's one of those things that's actually kind of up for debate. Was, did Billy the Kid live? There were a lot of people who had met brushy Bill Roberts and thought that that's him, but it was never.
I mean, I think that, clearly Billy the Kid is, legendary outlaw. And of course, there's going to be movies made about him. He'll appear in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, rightfully so. And I feel like for me, that's the true Billy the Kid. Emilio Estevez, I don't know, there was just something so... I never liked the character in these movies. I was never rooting for him to win. He was just so smug and just kind of a dick all the time. And he got his I don't even know if you'd call him his friends, because
pals.
They weren't really, he was, using them a lot of the time, and it was for a lot of reasons just to kill, because it's as far as we know, he didn't know John Tunstall all that well, certainly not nearly as well as all the other guys, but he was kind of kept on using him as an example in the first movie about why it was important for them to keep going. He's like, for John, and we, he was bringing that up a lot,
which was true, according to
how do we know what Billy the Kid was thinking?
Legendsofamerica.com, John. Legendsofamerica.com.
Well, but in the movie, I never felt like it was genuine. I always felt like he was using it as a way to just shoot and kill.
That was probably what it was like in real life, but he did use that as his excuse.
Oh, yeah. But the thing is, that made me like him less, that he kept on doing that.
No, he's not. And that's, I think, actually a strength of the movie is it doesn't, even though it tries to make him sympathetic, it doesn't make him likable.
Right.
Especially because the other characters around him are much more likable. Doc is a much more likable character.
Of course.
Chavez is a much more much more likable and sympathetic character.
Yeah.
In Young Guns 2, they throw in Arkansas Dave, who maybe he's there to make Billy the Kid seem a bit more likable.
It seems like it, because that's Christian Slater's character, and he's a douche. Yeah,
he always thinks he's the leader of the gang, and there's that funny moment too where they're in trouble and they're under siege, and Billy just says Dave, it's your gang now.
Are they in dark territory?
They're in dark. They are indeed. They are under siege in Dark Territory too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It took me a second to remember what the title of the second one was called. Yeah, I don't know. I think that the way that Emilio Estevez played the character just rubbed me the wrong way. And I don't know if it's also because, Emilio Estevez, just a few weeks ago was in the news because the Mighty Ducks series that he's in is moving forward without him because he won't comply with the COVID regulations and the vaccine regulations.
Oh, so really?
Yeah. So I
didn't
feel
know
like I've had a
that.
bad taste in my mouth for Emilio Estevez for the past few weeks because of that. So that might be coloring my opinion on his performance in the Young Guns movies, which is a wild thing to say.
I did not know that, but you know what else is a wild thing to say, John?
What's that?
Like that Under Siege 2 reference comes up. Did you not realize, making that reference, that Under Siege 2 Dark Territory is directed by Jeff Murphy, director of Young Guns 2?
Wow.
He's the guy who takes on the sequel. And I believe you liked Under Siege 2 perhaps better than the original Under Siege.
I loved it.
So
it was
Jeff Murphy,
good.
Jeff Murphy also did Free Jack, which is a movie that I haven't seen it in a long time. I remember I started watching it again recently, and Free Jack is one of those, like, I think it could be so bad it's good. Like, Mick Jagger is like a time traveling bounty hunter.
Ooh, we should cover that sometime.
We could definitely cover Free Jack. I think I know. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So
are we glicking out?
Are we? Oh no, sorry. I was Leo Getzing.
You're Leo Getzing. Got it.
Okay. I mean, yeah. So. So Jeff Murphy directed this. Christopher Kane directed the first Young Guns, and Christopher Kane would be best known from, I think he did like the next Karate Kid, with Hilary Swank,
right?
I'm not sure. I think he did like Pure Country.
Okay.
Which that was starring a famous country singer. He's done a lot of Western stuff. He did, speaking of Joe Pesci and Danny Glover, he did Gone Fishing with Joe Pesci and Danny Glover. Yep. The Amazing Panda Adventure. Let's see, Young Guns. Oh, he directed The Principal. With Jim Belushi and Lou Gossett Jr. That was Then, This Is Now, starring Emilio Estevez. So Christopher Kane, he did Young Guns, the original, and Jeff Murphy of Under Siege 2, Dark Territory, and Free Jack fame.
That's so bizarre. That is truly bizarre.
That is so crazy. And I for a moment, you like mention it and I was like, wait a second, I remember seeing that it has the same director. What the anyway, Young Guns 2 just in general has a higher production value. It's also got, if you look at the cast, in addition to who we mentioned, there's a lot of great character actors in there. Tracy Walter, who people would recognize from a lot of different movies, especially 1989 Batman. Tracy Walter's like a good friend of Jack Nicholson, so he's in like most of Jack Nicholson's movies.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, also shout out to William Peterson, who plays Pat Garrett. Who's great. Yeah. I mean, he's in like CSI or something, but he's also
he's in Manhunter.
Cousins. I was just going to say Cousins because I watched that not too long ago and I remembered him very, very vividly from that one.
Yeah.
He's fantastic. We mentioned James Coburn earlier. Viggo Mortensen, which is just like, man, he's such a little baby, but it's so perfect for these types of roles.
Also, Jack Kehoe. Jack Kehoe
as Ashman Upson.
Yeah, and man, Jack Kehoe pops up in all these things where once you know who he is, he's everywhere. In Midnight Run, he's like Joe Pantoliano's like assistant.
Yeah, he's in Serpico, The Untouchables.
Yeah. Leon Rippey, who I feel like pops up in most Westerns done in the last 30 to 40 years. He was on Deadwood. I really liked his character on Deadwood.
Cool.
Yeah. So Robert Knepper, who has done a lot of TV.
Yeah. Heroes, Prison Break, iZombie.
Yeah. I think of him mostly from Heroes. I really liked him in that. But a great cast for Young Guns 2.
Young Guns 2 is great. And I should also note that, like, we mentioned that William Peterson plays Pat Garrett in Young Guns 2, but in Young Guns 1, Pat Garrett is played by Patrick Wayne. So
it's a
smaller role.
Yeah. And there's also, like, I think the relationship between Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid was definitely exaggerated for these movies. From what from the little research I did, found that, like, they had encountered each other. I think, like, they liked to play cards at the same saloon, but they weren't really, like, friends. They didn't ride together. So so Young Guns 2 definitely exaggerates that. I know that, like, they moved around the deaths of different characters, like Casey Shamasco's character in the first one. Charlie doesn't die. He dies actually when when Doc dies in Young Guns 2. Doc actually didn't die during this. Doc died in, like, the 1920s.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah. Chavez, I think Chavez also survived.
Okay.
Yeah. So Doc died in 1929.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah. But I think it was Kiefer Sutherland's schedule.
Well, yeah, I think that also in the first one, I think that, like, he, just became, like, a father or something. And I don't know, there was, like, some sort of thing going on with
yeah.
But also, what's interesting is that the year before Young Guns was The Lost Boys, where he had a much more significant, very different kind of role. Whereas in this one, he's just like a good old boy, kind of, somebody who's just trying to reform himself and become this dignified guy who just, like, got himself into some trouble, and John Tunstall was, like, getting him out of it, and he gets into this whole mess.
Yeah. No, yeah, and Chavez died in 1924.
Okay.
He had been pardoned.
Oh, okay.
And
his whole thing was his knife throwing skills.
Yes. His knife throwing skills and his
gorgeous long hair.
Yeah. Man, Leonard Phillips. So stoic. And then, Arkansas Dave Rudabaugh, there are, like, different rumors as to what happened to him, but I think the accepted truth is that he like, made it to Mexico, as he does in Young Guns 2, but then, like, he was beheaded.
Yeah, I read that somewhere.
They wanted to keep, like, American outlaws from coming down there, but I think he was also involved in the what does it say? There's a disputed story that he taught Doc Holliday to use a pistol.
Huh.
I guess there was some interaction with Wyatt Earp.
Okay. So is this where we get into our ideas to bring this back? Is there some sort of crossover in your mind, Dan?
No, but only because Val Kilmer can't play,
reprise his role.
Yeah.
Well, maybe his son could. His son, who sounds exactly like he did, as you could tell because he does the voice of Val Kilmer in the documentary Val. And it's like, how is he doing this?
The Tombstoneverse.
Yeah. So,
So why don't do you want to go first?
Kick it off.
Yeah.
My idea was really just to do a straight remake because it's a fascinating story. And I think that there's a good way to tell it because let's face it, no one's really going to watch Young Guns these days. If you're going to watch a movie about this like fascinating story and like the kind of the origin of Billy the Kid, there's an audience for that. I'd say every 30 years or so. So why not, kick it back up again and do it now with some of the young stars now, but like, don't go as heavy on the like keeping it modern and fresh, just like play it straight and have fun with it.
Make a Western.
Yeah, just make a Western.
Make a Western.
I feel like the way that things are shot these days compared to 88, the picture is just so much more rich and you can just get such, I don't know, like there's a lot of directors out there right now who can really just get these like really beautiful landscapes that they weren't there in Young Guns. Yeah.
No, right. And that's something I like to watch a lot of the older Westerns for are those landscapes. Yeah. And Young Guns is really, really missing that.
Yeah.
So first of all, let's address that there's been some, I don't know if this is wishful thinking on the part of the people involved, but there has been talk of a Young Guns 3 with Emilio Estevez and John Fusco. There was a kind of photoshopped like poster that they made.
Good.
It was called
Good Lord.
like Alias Billy the Kid. And yeah, there's some speculation as to whether or not he would, come back. I don't know how likely that. I really don't know how likely that is that we would actually see a Young Guns 3.
Who is that for? That's my question. Is like, who is that for? Because I think Young Guns and Young Guns 2 just appeared on Hulu recently, which is what I think gave us the idea to just like go for it. But I don't know. I mean, what is the demographic for this? And, movies these days, when they're being made or being sold to studios and stuff, the idea is just about how profitable it can be, especially if you do it like overseas. And I feel like Young Guns is not as iconic as maybe Emilio Estevez thinks it is. And the people that are fans of it are fans of the nostalgia for this, not for something new necessarily.
Yeah. I don't see it. I really don't, even as like something that goes directly to a streaming service and doesn't even hit theaters. Yeah, I don't see it having as much of an audience. Now, where I do see the potential for an audience and where you could feed off the nostalgia for Young Guns would be a film about the Lincoln County Wars.
Sure.
But that looks at it less as the story of Billy the Kid and more as like, these are the Lincoln County Wars, and Billy the Kid was someone who was involved, and that was kind of what established his like, legend, legacy, kill streak.
Right.
So you could do that. But I mean, my first inclination was I want to see something about and it maybe not like the lawyer that Bradley Whitford plays, but just his character made me, because when I was before watching it, I thought I remembered him as being a reporter, which
really?
He's not. He's a lawyer. But I thought it would be interesting to show the story of someone investigating Brushy Bill Roberts, the story of Brushy Bill Roberts.
Gotcha.
And focusing not so like, let's expand that section of it
Yeah, so let's see. This would be the 1930s, 20s.
Well, I'm possibly later. I mean, it's the 50s, I think. In
50s, is that what it is? Yeah, because I'm just trying to think about like, yeah, I mean, I've established on this podcast before, I love a good newsroom movie, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I think that anything having to do with like, you know, and it's like, it could be framed as like, it's a conspiracy theory. So, and it's, you know, trying to investigate this conspiracy theory.
Yeah. He surfaced in 1950. Okay.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it would be interesting to see kind of like and I'm thinking of Spotlight, kind of the team that is investigating and going out and interviewing people. And I feel like you wouldn't have to be as historically accurate. It would be interesting as more of like an investigative film and discovering. I don't know what the purpose of it would be. Like, what would your theme be? Would you? I mean, maybe the purpose would be, why would some really old man he died in December 1950. How would he, like, why would someone like this pretend to be Billy the Kid, pretend to be a famous outlaw? Would it, you know, is there, like, what other angles are there? Like, who was the family of Brushy Bill Roberts, and what do they, and it was an episode of, it was a focus of a 2011 episode of Brad Meltzer's Decoded. And it was also a segment on Unsolved Mysteries back in 1989.
Really? Cool.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah. So between Young Guns and Young Guns 2, Unsolved Mysteries covers it. So I think that's the story that I'm mostly interested in coming from this.
No, I think that's really cool. I like that idea.
Like, I don't need to see an Arkansas Dave Rudabaugh movie. I don't need to see a Doc Scurlock, like the true story of Chavez or Doc Scurlock. And also that could all come up in this Brushy Bill, although they died in the 1920s. So yeah, I don't know. You know, it's some historical fan fiction.
I mean, I think that there could be an interesting story to tell with somebody like Doc or Chavez, and just like how their lives got kind of completely twisted around, because what we know from Chavez is that he's the last of his tribe.
Right.
He is like the last one left. And, you know, there's a story to tell there. And then he gets involved with this like gunslinging kid who ends up being this like infamous, I don't know, like, you know, killer. And I think there's an interesting story to tell there. Without having to go into just the story of Young Guns. And Doc's story, at least the way that it's told in Young Guns, is super interesting. You know, it's this guy who's a romantic. He's a poet, even though his poetry is ripoff of Edgar Allan Poe. And, you know, and is a school teacher and that kind of stuff. But like, he's also this outlaw. And I don't know. I think that is an interesting story to tell. I don't know if it's necessarily a movie, but it's something.
Yeah. I mean, also the fact that like Chavez went through, I'm looking at Wikipedia page here, but he was found guilty of a murder. He was arrested in May 1894. He was found guilty, sentenced to death by hanging, granted a retrial, and sentenced to death again. The governor overturned the decision, and his sentence was commuted to life in prison. And then, was at age 57, he was pardoned.
Gotcha.
Because apparently during a riot, he had helped prison guards. And then he just kind of like lived in Las Vegas till, for the rest of his life.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Dan, speaking of life in prison, do you want to tell people what we're doing at our next episode?
Yeah, so for our next episode, we are going to be looking at 1994's Academy Award nominated Stephen King adaptation, The Shawshank Redemption, directed by Frank Darabont, starring Tim Robbins and Morgan Freeman in perhaps his most iconic role, which Morgan Freeman having such a wide range of roles he's played, that is saying something. But yeah, so we're going to look at The Shawshank Redemption, which, man, talk about a movie that has just, garnered a legacy in the years since its release. I'm looking forward to chatting about it. And I've also just today finished reading the source material.
Oh, cool.
And
I haven't watched it in quite a long time, so I'm looking forward to rewatching it.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. But yeah, so Dan, everybody should email us, ruinchildhoodspot@gmail.com. Follow us on the social media stuff. Check out our links on our link tree.
Get the merch. It's this, tis the season to be giving. And why not give the Jesse Plemons fan in your life, the
Timothy Oliphant fan in your life, the Oscar Isaac
just
fan in
like the random movie reference fan in your life, and the merchandise really comes in. You get mugs, masks, bags,
all sorts of stuff.
Yes,
it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
yeah,
the whole kit and caboodle.
That's right. Well, Dan, as you are tossed out of a window in a trunk, I wish you a good journey.
Good journey.